Good morning and welcome back to Virtual CONjuration. This panel is Media Foursomes in the Houses of Hogwarts. I am Chris Seckinger. I'm one of the con founders, and I'm the one who put this little soiree together. And these are our illustrious panelists. I will let them introduce themselves. Kyle, tell us who you are.
Hi, Kyle Mitchell, longtime Atlanta con goer, proud member of the Dead Pirates of Sci-Fi fandom. I'm also a published poet, 2 books of poetry. And whenever the Professor Falkervet, Bush, sends an owl, I come.
Olivia?
I have been paneling at CONjuration since it began. I'm a Slytherin, and I'm actually a sociology student, so I have lots of thoughts on the Hogwarts houses and sorting.
Cecilia?
Good morning. I am Cecilia Dominic. I am an Atlantan. I've been doing cons for a while. This is my first time at CONjuration, though. I was really excited to be invited. So thank you to the professor, and this one's been on my list for a while, so I'm glad to be able to dip my toe in. So by day, I'm a clinical psychologist. So like Olivia, I'm really fascinated by this whole personality system that is developed from the houses. And by night, I am a USA Today bestselling author of steampunk and urban fantasy.
Awesome. Abbie?
Hey, I am Abbie. I am a Hufflepuff. I don't know if y'all could tell. I was lucky enough to be kind of picked up off the side of the road by CONjuration, and they can't get rid of me. So I am so glad to be a part of this family. I have a background in psychology. My focus was on child psychology and clinical behavioral nuances. And currently I do process background screenings to try and protect kids from bad people. So that's always fun.
Wow.
Great. Okay, for everybody who has joined us for this panel off to the side, when you make comments, if we like your comments, we can give your house points. But we can't give your house points if you don't make sure that you put your house right after your name. So make sure that's the first thing that you list before the comments that you make. Okay, as I was telling our panelists before we got started here, I came up with the idea after watching Stand By Me for probably the 100th or 200th time and realized that those 4 boys were the perfect representations of all 4 houses of Hogwarts. And it got me to thinking, the movies and media that we have that really made it well, the ones that we truly, truly love, is it because those foursomes represent all 4 houses of Hogwarts, or do other mixtures make up good foursomes as well? Like I said, I started with Stand By Me. Let's see if I can share my screen. Let's see if this works. That is not the screen I'm looking for, but that's okay. There we go. Can everybody see that now? No?
No, I can't see it.
Mr. Producer, can you make my screen show? Thank you. There we go.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that movie may be it is Hogwarts light. Hogwarts set in Maine with just 4 boys. Will Wheaton is the Ravenclaw, River Phoenix is the Slytherin, Corey Feldman is the Gryffindor, and Jerry O'Connell definitely is the Hufflepuff. I think that is just perfect in every way. But I came up with a pretty big list, pretty extensive list that kind of ran the gambit from not just movies, but also television shows, books, and even comics. Now, I didn't get a chance to talk to any of you to see if you have come up with any ideas. But I think most of us have probably seen Ghostbusters. How do y'all feel about Ghostbusters? Is it a good representation of the houses of Hogwarts? Those are the 4 big guys, and I was looking at it yesterday, and I think maybe so.
I'd say so, yeah.
I definitely agree. I had this conversation with several of my coworkers. We're huge Harry Potter fans, and the one character we did argue on was Peter Venkman. I thought he was hardcore Slytherin, and there was a lot of people that were like, nope, he is 100% Gryffindor.
Really, I would go with the Slytherin as well because he's sort of self-motivated. Not that that's a bad thing, but also he is okay with deception. But that also makes him okay with pushing the boundaries.
Yeah, he's very ambitious. He wants their little organization to become something. He wants people to take them seriously, and he wants them to give him money for this endeavor. Whereas I think Ray is doing it. I think Ray's the Gryffindor. I think Ray is while smart, he's Hermione smart. I think he's bravely taking on something that most people are gonna think is ridiculous, and just facing the world and saying screw all of you. Egon is our Ravenclaw, and I think Winston is our Hufflepuff. He protects these guys. He's there. He's backing them up. I think it's a good group. But what do you think are the characters? I mean, everybody seems to agree that they are representative. Those are just the ideas that I came up with. But hey, it's not like anybody's an expert on this. We're all just shooting from the hip. There are no right or wrong.
Oh, sorry. Did I speak over somebody?
No, Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. I definitely saw Ray as the Hufflepuff. And
Agreed.
Winston as the Gryffindor because, he came in as like, as long as there's a steady paycheck in, I'm in. He's just like, let's go. I'll protect you guys. I'm here. But it's like, whatever. But Ray was just gung-ho for it. And it was like, and of course he thought of our lovely Mr. Stay Puffed. But he's there. He does love what he does. And he's hardworking and he's loyal to his guys. Egon's obviously the Ravenclaw. And then we got Peter as the Slytherin, who just that opening scene where it is these beautiful psychological experiment that he is proving right there that negative reinforcement can bring out psychosomatic tendencies and it's beautiful. And then he flipping ruins it. That makes me mad. Sorry.
I would
good with that. You can flip those, and we're still left with the four. And I mean, there's a reason that this movie made millions. It's because those four characters worked really, really well together. I think it's that great example of if you have the right mixture, then your recipe is going to turn out really nice. Now, like I said, I also did TV shows, and one of the ones that I picked was the Golden Girls. Has everybody here seen the Golden Girls?
Oh yeah,
I know it through.
Olivia, have you seen the Golden Girls?
I've only seen a few episodes.
Okay, but you know what? I think you can make the determination having just seen one episode. I think it may be a great example of another great example of why this show was so successful. I think they're representative of all the houses. Anybody want to argue that there's two of the same in this little grouping?
I think it's a good balance. It's almost like two odd couples, right there with all the classic theatrical kind of roles, in all four of them to cover all the bases, just like the four houses. Yeah.
I think Dorothy is our Ravenclaw, Rose is our Hufflepuff, Blanche is our Slytherin, and Sophia is our Gryffindor. I think Sophia is a Gryffindor with a lot of Slytherin qualities, but I think that when you break it down, the reason that she's actually in the show is that she was fed up at her old folks' home and got up and walked out the door, got a taxi, and left. That's pretty dang brave for an 80-year-old. It's like, screw this mess. I'm not sticking around. So that's why I'm like, okay, I'm going to throw her in Gryffindor. And I think they're pretty good balance. The show works because they play off of each other. You've got each of them making classic house comments that the others then run with. Especially Rose. Bless her heart. I love her to pieces. Who doesn't? I'm sorry. If you don't love Betty White, then you're broken. You were just a broken individual. She is wonderful. And what's great is that she came to Golden Girls, the Mary Tyler Moore Show, where she played such a Slytherin character. Oh my God. I think it proved what a great actress she is. Let's see. Oh, here we go. How about The Wizard of Oz? Surely we've all seen The Wizard of Oz, right?
Yes, and watched it
definitely.
while listening to The Dark Side of the Moon. Yeah.
Nice.
That's on my list.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know what he's talking about, do that. Listen to Dark Side of the Moon while you watch The Wizard of Oz. It will change the entire movie experience.
Yeah.
I assure you. And I'm not a big Pink Floyd fan, but okay, in this circumstance, yeah, Dark Side of the Moon works. Do we have all four houses represented? What do you think?
I mean, Scarecrow, well, the Cowardly Lion, I guess, has to be Hufflepuff, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
The wanting to be Gryffindor. This is a classic. We had some of the ones in Ghostbusters and I think in Golden Girls that were pretty clearly one house, but wanting either for their own fun or enjoyment or just their own kind of evolution to want to be more like another house. And I think that we've got some perfect examples of this. That's actually right there in the plot of, wanting a brain and wanting a heart and wanting courage and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
These all kind of feel kind of like Neville situations, though, where they are in their houses and they really just need that special oomph to be like, no, you're already there. You just need that affirmation. So the Cowardly Lion just need to be told, no, you are a Gryffindor. Pull that sword out of the hat. Here you go. Tin Man, you have the heart. You're a Hufflepuff. Here it is. Go prove it. Scarecrow, there's your brain. Raven, Scarecrow. There you go. And, Dorothy is 100% a Slytherin no matter what, but that's just my cup of tea on that one.
I think, while I see the Cowardly Lion, we know his mission is to find courage so that he can be brave. This is what he's striving for. I truly do see him as a Hufflepuff, and I see the Tin Man as the Gryffindor. Even though I know the Tin Man strives to be a Hufflepuff, he really is the brave one out of the group. But Scarecrow, he had the brains all along. Yeah. Dorothy, I could not agree more. I do believe she's a Slytherin. She has a mission and she is going to see it through. And I mean, when she's told that in order to achieve her mission, she has to commit murder, she says, okay.
Yeah,
if that's not a Slytherin move, I don't know what is.
While she just dances along happily.
Okay, I got to go kill somebody.
I didn't mean to do it. Oh.
I would actually disagree with the fact that the Cowardly Lion isn't a Gryffindor, like that he is a Hufflepuff, because I think that attempting to be brave when you are scared, when you don't have that courage, I think that's a very Gryffindor thing to do. Like, he is striving for bravery like that, and I think that the four of them are a perfect, like, their goal. It doesn't matter if they are that thing, but it's about what their motivation is, what their goal is.
You're 100% right. The Cowardly Lion is Neville. That's who the Cowardly Lion is.
He proves his loyalty.
He doesn't know it's there, but that's what he admires the most, and he does achieve it in the end. So, yes. Yep. And the Tin Man, he is Cedric. Massive bravery. He gets what he's striving for, which is to be that Hufflepuff. Once again, that's a perfect little grouping. I'm not sure if L. Frank Baum achieved it in any of the novels after that, because I'm not remembering them completely, because the characters change. And then, I mean, there's 47 novels or something like that are canon. But I think he nailed it in this one, and I think that's why it's become a staple in American cinema. Even though it wasn't to start with, it wasn't that big of a hit to start with. Let's see. Oh, here we go. How about The Princess Bride?
Oh, wow.
Do we have all 4 houses? I think Fezzik is a Hufflepuff.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, Fezzik is definitely our Hufflepuff.
I
want to say that Inigo is our Gryffindor.
I think he is too, and I think that Wesley is our Ravenclaw. He's the smart one of the bunch. I think that Buttercup may be the Slytherin.
Hands down.
Yeah, I think the final scene there where he's suggesting that Inigo take over the mantle of the Dread Pirate Roberts, and he goes, I still, every time I see it, like, I don't know if he would be faking it along the way, because I think he really is a Gryffindor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This all kind of brings me to an idea I had for a panel just, before this started, where it's like, what happens to a person's house when they experience severe trauma in their life? Like, what would they have been if they hadn't been captured by the Dread Pirate Roberts?
Oh, yeah.
Exactly,
Mm-hmm.
Darren. What would Harry have been if he hadn't have had Voldemort? Who would they truly have been? And I think I really would have seen Wesley as a Hufflepuff if he hadn't have had to learn to survive by his hands. But he just...
You see, I don't see it when I watch the very beginning of the movie, before Wesley is off on his little trip. He is still playing a game in order to win the heart of Buttercup, and he's doing it in a very smart manner. He's not over the top with it. He is playing it very subtly, and he's playing it like a chess master, not like somebody who just hopes for the best. I think he's Ravenclaw from the very start. I think he's playing a nice chess game with the heart of Buttercup, and he eventually checkmates that at the end of the movie. But I think all 4 houses are there, even if you kind of
absolutely.
But isn't it funny? I look at Buttercup and go Slytherin, and we just did. Let's see, we did The Wizard of Oz, and Dorothy was a Slytherin. And if you look at Star Wars, we have sorted them. I don't know how many times. That every time Princess Leia is a Slytherin. Why are all the really strong female characters on this planet Slytherin?
Slytherins
Olivia?
are not bad.
Slytherin? No. I mean, the good characteristics of Slytherin are good characteristics. They're ones that we should all strive for. And the bad characteristics of any house are bad, no matter how you look at it. I think a Slytherin hero is not only acceptable, but I think it makes the story a lot more interesting, because you can't guess a Slytherin all the time. You can see through a Hufflepuff or a Gryffindor, and sometimes even a Ravenclaw, but seeing through a Slytherin, that's a lot more difficult. Let's see. I know. I've got. How about the Hobbits from Lord of the Rings?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Although, can I make a comment on your previous question? Why are all the strong women Slytherin?
Absolutely.
I would say it's because Slytherins are not afraid to push boundaries. And in order to be a strong woman and to survive in these situations, they are having to push beyond what other people are expecting of them and out of the roles that they have been put into. Like Princess Leia is not just a princess. She eventually becomes a general. Dorothy is a farm girl who has to do all of these, creative and heroic things in order to basically survive. And Buttercup's kind of the same. She didn't necessarily want to be the princess, but now that she's got to be pretty ruthless in order to get herself out of the situation.
She does. And it's important that she be ruthless, because otherwise she's going to wind up with Prince Humperdinck, and that's just horrible. Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit. Do we have all 4 houses with those? Because you know what, the 4 of them are just lovable. They're wonderful characters, but are they representative of all the houses?
Yes.
I think Sam is a Hufflepuff.
That one's the easy one.
Yeah.
I think he's the easiest one. I think Frodo is probably the Gryffindor. He's having to take on something that most people would shy away from. You've got to be pretty strong inside in order to take on that mission. But now we're left with Merry and Pippin. Are they representative of Slytherin and Ravenclaw?
Or Ravenclaw. I don't know if either of them you could say Ravenclaw.
Well,
And I don't know if they prove it. Yeah.
One of the key characteristics for Ravenclaw is, of course, high intelligence. And with high intelligence, unless there's something amiss in other parts of your brain, comes a really high developed sense of humor. And both of them have that. So I think they have parts of Ravenclaw at least. Are they both Slytherin? I mean, we know they'll steal, but that's a bad characteristic. And I think all the houses, might be drawn to doing that. Of course, they were stealing when there was no need for it. Are they ambitious?
I would peg Merry as a Slytherin only because of his ability to work with the Ents, his ability to just get himself into Rohan and into his platonic relationship with Eowyn, get himself into the front of the battle. And then Pippin would be more of the Gryffindor, actually, and I would put Frodo into the role of the Ravenclaw because he is brave enough to take the ring, but he is more of the book person. I mean, he is very courageous, but he's a reluctant courageous in the fact that he has been in the library, but he will go and take care of things because he knows enough to take care of it.
And to take up the writing and finishing of
exactly
the whole journey, the book, it is very Ravenclaw as well. Yeah.
Dan Newton says that Labella Saxfield Baggins is your Slytherin hobbit. Yeah, and you know what? We're having difficulty putting them all into the houses, so it's possible that they aren't representative of all 4 houses, but that's okay because the Fellowship of the Ring is made of 9, people, and I think that you get all the houses in that entire group. So maybe it wasn't necessary for the hobbits to be representative of all 4 houses. I do think that they all have Gryffindor traits. Those little 3-foot guys are attacking a world that is absolutely terrifying, and if that's not brave, I don't know what is. And I think they all have characteristics of the loyalty of Hufflepuff. They're clever, like the Ravenclaw and or Slytherin, because Slytherins are clever as well. But maybe that's it. Maybe they're just a nice little mix with a little bit stronger to one side or the other.
They're all Hufflepuffs then, because that's what we are.
Well, maybe they're divergent, right? So they're divergent just so that they can avoid the temptation of the ring.
Yeah. Now, I threw the Chronicles of Narnia up there. I think this is another one that's fairly easy to say that they're representative of the houses of Hogwarts. And we know that Jo got a lot of her ideas from past literature, and I think she may have been looking at the children of Narnia as a basis for her houses.
I think it's so clear cut that they were literally in the house colors in the movies.
Yes.
They were. I forgot they did that in the movie.
Yeah.
They did. I honestly, I truly think that's where she may have gotten the idea for the at least the characteristics of Hogwarts is from these kids. Because I mean, at this point, by the time she wrote Harry Potter, we had the Chronicles of Narnia for 40 years. So I mean, Lord, anybody who liked magical fantasy at all had read these books over and over and over again. And they're pretty stable too throughout all 7 books. The characters, I think C.S. Lewis did a good job of maintaining their the aspects of their personalities. And God, yeah, I mean, would anybody debate that all 4 houses aren't shown up there? Lucy the Hufflepuff, Edmund the Slytherin, Peter the Gryffindor, and Susan the Ravenclaw. I think
it's very clear. Yeah,
I think even
I think he nailed it, and I think that's why it worked. We didn't get all the children in all the books, but we got all the children in a couple of books and part of the children in multiple books, and I think that it's easy to see that they really do those houses very well. Let's see what else I have. Oh yeah, here's a comic book group. I don't know how many of you do comics, but you may have seen the movies, if nothing else. Because I wanted to step out of the movies and TV as well. How many of you have read Fantastic Four or seen the movie?
I've seen the movie.
Yeah, all the movies.
I think that Stanley did a good job of representing the House of the Hogwarts, even though they didn't exist for another 30 years. Reed is definitely a Ravenclaw. I think Ben is definitely the Gryffindor. Johnny is a Slytherin, and I think Sue is the Hufflepuff. She's the one that's trying to keep the peace between those other 3 knuckleheads, keep it all together, because God knows they're difficult. Johnny really is out to be the attention grabber, and he does a good job at that. And you can throw Ben anywhere, and he will bravely confront those that are twice his size. So I think it's good.
Well, and like you was saying earlier about the trauma. I mean, think about the trauma that these characters have gone through. Fantastic Four was on my list of foursomes, so I'm glad you brought this up here. I'm curious to hear our psychologists here talk about that and the trauma of the Thing and Johnny Storm and and how that affected their house.
Unfortunately, I'm not at all familiar with the Fantastic Four. I'll admit my comic book exposure kind of stopped with the Archie comics and the Ninja Turtles.
Yay, Archie!
So and here's my cat. He is definitely a Hufflepuff.
Oh. Hannah made an interesting comment. She thought Mr. Fantastic would have been a Gryffindor.
Yeah, Hannah, you're going to have to give us more than Mr. Fantastic's a Gryffindor, because that's not a compelling argument. Bring it, girl. Bring it. There's no way. This dude's sole end in life is to create amazing scientific advancements for the world. Gryffindors, not really that interested in doing the amount of research and study that it takes in order to be the greatest scientific mind of planet Earth. So, I mean,
even though
hold on a second.
He does some pretty stupid stuff, but I don't think that makes him a Gryffindor.
No, I'm not as...
I typoed. I changed it to Ravenclaw. Yeah, boy, she backed out of that one.
I was about to defend you, Hannah. You're no longer my niece. Okay, never mind.
Well, somebody did say that they thought that Johnny could be the Gryffindor and Ben, I guess Ben would be the Hufflepuff. And I can see Ben as a Hufflepuff. Maybe. I think he gets too exasperated with them. And I think Hufflepuffs have they're a little better able to deal
high crap tolerance.
Yeah, they have pretty big tolerance for that. And he definitely doesn't have a tolerance to deal with stupid and irritating people. But either way, I think it's I think it's a good representation. Even if the two of them are a mixture of both, I think that the houses are still represented pretty well. I did throw a weird one in here, and let's see if I can pop it up.
Oh.
I decided what, and we're talking about media foursomes. Well,
Wow.
music is media. Do the Beatles represent all four houses of Hogwarts? I think they may.
Is George Harrison the Hufflepuff because no one cares?
No, I think that Ringo Starr is the Hufflepuff, and I think George is the Ravenclaw.
Ravenclaw, yeah.
And because
Really?
he spent those first few years really honing his craft and studying and making sure that when the Beatles broke up, he was going to be the go-to guy. And that's what happened. If you look at their early albums in the 1970s after they had broken up and were individuals, his were brilliant. From start to finish, every song was well crafted. All the lyrics were perfect. He had worked all those years to make sure that he was the guy. He had the skill. And, anybody that plays guitar will tell you that George is he's definitely a top-notch guitar guy. And John were fine. They were good, but he was the go-to guy when it came to that. I think that
Ringo Starr is a muggle.
John,
Yeah, I agree with Dan on the premise there.
Oh yeah, there goes Dan Newcomb.
Ringo is
Ringo's
tough, yeah.
answering letters to fans 20 years later. It's true. He answers all his fans.
Oh,
If that's not a Hufflepuff move, I don't know what is.
And just look at he was the conductor, right? The engineer or whatever on Thomas the Tank Engine, right?
That's right. He was.
Oh.
Well, he was
Very sympathetic.
Yeah.
Character.
I think that John is a Slytherin. He has a certain view of the universe and is kind of unyielding. I think unyielding is a quality that can be seen fairly frequently in Slytherins. I mean, all houses can do it, but they seem to have mastered it. You have to ask Olivia; she's our Slytherin. Is unyielding a quality that you would think is a Slytherin quality?
Yeah, I would say that's a Slytherin.
But if we look at it, then we're left with Paul as the Gryffindor. I guess I could see it. I don't know where to put Paul. I don't think he's a Ravenclaw. I mean, he let Michael Jackson steal all his songs from him, so he's not a very smart dude. He was a little vocal about it, so I guess that would mean he wasn't Hufflepuff because he's not keeping his mouth shut. He was running it. Slytherin would have made sure that never happened. So I guess Gryffindor is left for Paul. That's the only thing he could be. I would like to get Sir Paul to take the test and see. Is Ringo better? No, I don't think so, Darren Bush. I think Ringo is just perfect Hufflepuff. He's just a great dude. He just is. Still is. I mean, I just watched his 80th birthday party, and it was just very Hufflepuffy, the whole thing. It was awesome.
The allure about the Beatles was their music and then the characters they played.
Mm-hmm.
If you break them down as actual people, you're not going to find all four houses, and that's what we're having issues with. So with their music, you're going to get all four houses, and it's going to be good. Maybe, I guess, with the Slytherins when they get like really druggy. I don't know. But with the characters and stuff, you're going to probably get all four, but as actual people, no one probably would have.
I think, as actual people, they were, with the exception of Ringo, who I think was truly a Hufflepuff in real life.
Maybe some parts
they were playing characters to the media. They had the media thought of them a certain ways, and it came through in all of their albums. In real life, Paul may be a Ravenclaw, believe it or not, evidently he could be found frequently in bookstores doing research. He's very interested in that kind of thing. That's definitely not the character that he played or plays. But I think that he may be one of the ones that tries to hide their intelligence. A lot of Ravenclaws will do that, especially from that era. It wasn't such a cool thing to be the smartest kid in class. It was way easier to be able to hang out with the regular folk. So I think maybe he taught himself not to be a Ravenclaw. Let's see what else.
I don't know if we really have a Slytherin in the Beatles, but next year you might want to do the monkeys.
Well, see, I almost put the monkeys in there because they meet the character. They're not only a media foursome in one way, but they're a media foursome in the other way.
Yes.
As I'm like, not only were they TV stars, but they also were a legit musical group. At least from the second album on. The first album not so much, but from the second album on, they played their stuff. They wrote their songs, a lot of their songs, then did their concerts. So yeah, I think maybe you're right. The Monkees may have been a better choice, and I think that they may have been easier to sort as well. I don't know. I've met two of the Monkees in real life. And they weren't quite the same as their characters on TV, but it could have been the circumstances in which I met them. I haven't met any of the Beatles, sadly, but let's see. I've got lists of other stuff here, but I want to let y'all. Do you have any foursomes that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I had two actually. So.
Okay.
At first, I mentioned the Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
Okay.
So, in that case, I would say that Michelangelo is definitely a Hufflepuff. I mean, he's even got the oh, there you go. Thank you. He's got the colors. Donatello is definitely going to be our Ravenclaw, and then Raphael our Slytherin, and Leonardo our Gryffindor. What do you guys think?
Yeah. I agree. I think another classic example of the common, Italian theatrical character in there, literally and figuratively. Yeah.
See, I have to admit, I've never watched the cartoon. I've never seen the movies. I read the comics when they first came out back in the mid '80s, early to mid '80s. So we're talking the black and white oversized comic. So I'm going to have to take y'all's word on it as to what they are, because it's literally been 40 years since I read them.
Well,
yeah, I remember watching the cartoons in the 90s.
Like, you pick which one are you. It was very much like that before we had Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah.
Which Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle are you? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I seem to recall that conversation at Titan Games and Comics in the late 80s and early 90s, where people would discuss that. It was one of those top conversations, like could Thor beat up Superman? Just a classic intellectual discussion there. And now we do it every year at CONjuration with Hogwarts. We were making fun of it back then. What's your other one, Cecilia? You said you had two.
Yeah, so this other one is not quite in the fantasy world, but I was also thinking about the foursome on Will and Grace, the television show.
I almost put that in here. I almost did, and I wish I had. I don't have a picture for it, but Will and Grace would be good. How do you have them sorted?
Okay, so the easy ones, we've got Karen our Slytherin. Jack is our Hufflepuff. I would say Will, because he goes into being a college professor, is our Ravenclaw. And Grace is our conflicted Gryffindor.
Interesting that you put Jack in Hufflepuff.
I would have put him in Gryffindor.
Jack?
Yep.
I can see that.
He is completely unafraid.
Yep.
He is fearless. It doesn't matter what he's doing. He charges in it like a bull, or rather like a lion.
Bull in a china shop, I would go with more of that. It's too bad we only have 5 minutes left, or else this would be a great conversation.
But I love that foursome. I think they're pretty representative, and I think that's why that show works so well. I mean, they brought it back. I haven't seen any of the newer ones, but I have come to understand that the characters are the exact same. They didn't
Pretty
screw
much.
anything up. So
No, I can attest. I can attest that the reboot is just as good as the original.
Okay, well, we'll start rewatching that and then get to the new stuff. Right now, we're trying to push our way through Gilmore Girls. Sadly, there's 2 of them. Otherwise, they'd be on the list too because we're enjoying that series. But how about the rest of you? Anybody got anything? We've got a couple of minutes. You got any foursomes you want to throw out there?
This might be
I
an
did
odd
some weird things. I threw the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse in the mix.
I was going to say that,
that's literary.
especially from Good Omens.
Ah,
They
yeah.
were the 4 bikers of the apocalypse.
Let's see. Yeah, there we go. We have conquest, war, famine, and death. I see the Pale Rider as a Hufflepuff.
Yes.
Going to lead you to that quiet end. War, I think, is Slytherin. I mean, Gryffindor. Famine is Slytherin, and conquest is Ravenclaw. But hey, I was looking at it yesterday. I'm like, how the heck would you sort the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse? Excuse me, John. I have a question here about this book you wrote. I have no idea. It's not the first time. I mean, it's mentioned in the Book of Revelation, but they also mention it in the Old Testament as well, too. I don't remember which one touched on Ezekiel, I think. So it wasn't a new concept when John wrote about it. But how would y'all sort the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse? Are they representative of the 4 houses of Hogwarts?
Yes. Yeah, I definitely saw the Pale Rider as Hufflepuff. Famine, I thought would have been Slytherin because that is the long con. That is suffering. That is the leaving the door a crack open, so making the person get up and close it. War is Gryffindor. Conquest is Ravenclaw.
Yeah, I mean, I really did. When I was looking, I'm like, I think these line up. It would definitely be a Ravenclaw trait to conquer, because at least as it's laid out, when we read about the 4 horsemen, it's a long process, and that's it takes a lot of planning to perform conquest, and that's a Ravenclaw move. But the Gryffindor, give me the sword, let me charge into battle. The Slytherin is, like you said, that's long, and the long con there, just to drag it out and screw with as many people as possible to get to your end. And anybody disagrees with the Pale Rider's Hufflepuff? Hufflepuff is death. I never thought I'd say those words, and yet they're coming.
I feel really bad that this makes me happy to discuss this, but it makes so much sense.
Yeah, Aaron Thomas said no. They're all Slytherin.
They only be like Harry. Choosing Slytherin, though, they really would have fallen in those 4 houses separately.
Yeah, I think so. I just thought it was interesting. Since we're talking about media foursomes, they're in a book, so that makes them media, and there are 4 of them. So I figure I'd throw it in there just for grins and giggles. What the heck? But it looks like we only have a few seconds left. I want to thank all of you for coming out to the panel, and keep joining in on the other panels and earn your houses some house points. It looks like we're all represented here. Well, except for Gryffindor. We don't have a Gryffindor in my mix. But
So what are you, Chris?
I'm a Ravenclaw.
Okay.
So we got 3 Ravenclaws, a Slytherin, and a Hufflepuff. See, that makes a good mix to figure out if these groups fall into houses of Hogwarts. Gryffindors don't like to do any kind of talking anyway. So
Rude.
I'm waiting over here. I'm looking at the comments. Any Gryffindor saying anything? No. Okay, well, thank you all for coming, and hope to see you in an upcoming panel very, very soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye, thanks.